Hey everybody, it's Ryan. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to set up your Raspberry Pi with nginx with RTMP so you can live stream on Facebook and YouTube at the same time with no additional cost. Let's go ahead and dig in. Okay, first thing we need to do is go ahead and get the Raspberry Pi connected. So we do that using SSH, using PuTTY. Go ahead and connect to it. So one of the first things you need to do is go ahead and log in to your Raspberry Pi. There we go. Go ahead and go on and logged in. Run sudo apt update. What this is going to do is going to make sure your Raspberry Pi has all the latest and greatest packages. Let's go ahead and run that command real quick. So next step is we're going to go ahead and install nginx web server. So in order to do that, we're going to type sudo apt install nginx and then go ahead and push enter. We're going to type in sudo / etc / init.d / nginx space start, and then go ahead and push enter. It's going to go ahead and tell you that okay, it started the service. Now we need to check to make sure that we can actually get that's actually up and running. So in order to do that, we need to open up a browser. So let's go ahead and grab the browser tab, drag it on over here. Alright, so first thing I want to do is I want to type in the IP address of the server, which is right there. Click on that. You can see there you go, welcome to nginx. So that lets us know that hey, everything's set up, everything's working, that we're good to go. So now that we know that we have that installed, now we need to set up the RMTP part. So RMTP is what will connect to Facebook and YouTube that allows us to do our live streaming. So let's go ahead and get that installed. Sudo space apt space install and then libnginx-mod-rtmp, and I'm going to go ahead and provide a document with all of these commands and everything down below. Let's go ahead and push enter. Now it's going to pop up here in a second and ask you if you want to go ahead and install. So I go ahead and click yes. So now since we have that installed, now we need to change some of the configuration files. So first thing we need to do is we need to edit the nginx configuration file in order for us to set up RTMP on there that we can then stream to using OBS. So in order to do that, you can type in sudo nano /etc /nginx /nginx.conf and go ahead and push enter. That's going to go ahead and bring you into this document here. So what I want you to do is I want you to scroll all the way down here to the bottom of the document. As we get down here to the bottom of the document, I'm going to have you paste in a command that's also inside the document link below. And it's basically an RTMP configuration that will basically be used to do our live streaming and making sure that it works. So we'll go ahead and just paste that first one in there. So you can see it's got RTMP server. We're telling it what port to listen on, our chunk size, and the name of our application. We're going to call it live. So after you've gone ahead and do that, we are going to hit Control X to exit. It's going to ask if we want to save. I'm going to go ahead and click yes, and we're going to push enter. And then after we do that, and anytime you change anything in the nginx configuration file, I definitely recommend you do this every time. Now this is going to be sudo space nginx-t. What that's going to do is it's going to check the configuration file to make sure there wasn't any errors and that you maybe added extra space or you forgot to put a semicolon. It will tell you about any of those errors. So go push enter. And it's going to let us know that it's okay and the test was successful. So now since we've gone ahead and did some changes to the configuration file, we need to go ahead and reboot nginx. So in order to do that, we're going to do sudo systemctl space restart space nginx and go ahead and push enter. It's going to go ahead and restart nginx. Perfect. Okay. Now we've gone ahead and done a real basic setup of getting everything we need in order to stream OBS to the Raspberry Pi. We're not there at the Facebook part yet, but this is just the initial part. So let's go ahead and show you how to test it right at this point to make sure that you're all set up and ready to go. So let's go ahead and check that out. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring OBS into the recording window so you can see the settings to what you need to set up in OBS in order to stream to the Raspberry Pi. One of the first things that you need to do is you need to click on Settings and click on the Stream tab. What you're going to do is you're going to put in the IP address of your Raspberry Pi. So for me, that's rtmp://192.168.2.80. Now your IP address will vary. You need to know your IP address of your Raspberry Pi. After you get that figured out, go and do a / and the word live, because if you remember what we set up in the rtmp configuration file was an application called live, so that's why we have that set to live. And then as far as the stream key, just go ahead and just put the word test. You don't need to put a password there, but just put something there. I prefer test because it's just easy to remember. So after you have that set up, go ahead and click OK. And then what you want to do is then go ahead and once you're ready to set up your test, what you want to do is click on Start Streaming. So we'll go ahead and click on Start Streaming. So now it's going to start streaming. Now, what we need to do is we need to open up VLC. It's a free open source video player that you guys can download. And you need this in order to test the live stream or any other video application. You can open up a network stream you can use, but VLC is the preferred method. So what we need to do is we go over here, go to Media, open Network Stream, and then what I need to do is you need to put in the same IP address again of your Raspberry Pi. So again, that was rtmp://192.168.2.80, and then what you want to do is you want to do the port number :1935, and then you want to do the name of the application, so it's /live. And then we want to go ahead and put in our password, which as you saw earlier was just test. So let's go ahead and check to see if this video is now showing, is going to show from VLC through the Raspberry Pi as a live stream. So go ahead and click play. Give it a second for it to buffer. So go ahead and click play. And I'm going to mute the audio so it doesn't echo back. Apologize. And there. Now you can see that we actually have our live stream is now playing VLC. So I'm going to go ahead and I make this a little bit smaller and get a little bit of a background. Give it a second, it's a little bit delayed, but it is there. Now is our background. So this is a good way to test to make sure that your stream is actually running. So let's go ahead and close that right now. So now since we've essentially connected to the Raspberry Pi, set up nginx with rtmp, let's go ahead and get everything set up for streaming on Facebook and YouTube. Okay, let's go ahead and dig in. So what we need to do is we need to go back and edit the nginx configuration file. So what we're going to do is we're going to type in sudo nano /etc /nginx and this is where that configuration file is we'll be using to set up the different live streaming options. Okay, now what we need to do is we need to scroll way down to the bottom of the file again. Over here, scroll way down. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and delete everything we put in there before. So let's click backspace and we're just going to delete everything that was there. Alright, now we're going to put in the next example script, which I have provided for you guys. Or piece of code, sorry, not script. I'm going to scroll up here, copy it, and I'll go over it as soon as I paste it in here. Okay, so as you can see here, we have added a few new things. One of the things we've added is we added a Facebook, and then we're putting to basically a very specific port on the Raspberry Pi, and then we're going to add our Facebook stream key here. We also didn't have a YouTube, which we're also going to add our streaming key here for YouTube, and then we have an all live, which you can see is doing not only YouTube, but then also doing Facebook. So what this is going to allow us to do is going to allow us to stream from the Raspberry Pi to Facebook and YouTube, basically completely free. I mean, we're basically going to stream both platforms. Now, Facebook does require some additional settings that I'm going to walk you through to set up, but this can be used for Twitch, this can be used for Instagram, this can be used for any platform that accepts RTMP streaming incoming. You can set this up. Now, if you had a newer Raspberry Pi 4, I haven't had a chance to test this yet, but I believe you can have up to 4 streams going to 4 different sources as long as your bandwidth allows it. So it's a great use of a $35 computer in order to get some awesome live streaming capabilities. So this is the first little setting you need to do. So after you've gone in here and you've done all this, what I recommend you do is you get a test Facebook stream key and a YouTube stream key. Go ahead and paste those in there so you can go ahead and test this yourself. So go ahead and go on Facebook, get your Facebook stream key and your YouTube stream key. And then once you get those, go ahead and paste them in here. And then when you're all done and this is all set, what you want to do is you want to do Control X again to exit. You want to click yes, basically save it, and then enter it. And there we go. Now we're back out. We need to do something special for Facebook. So Facebook last year decided that they wanted to start doing RTMP, doing it securely, and that's called RTMP-S. That's what the S stands for, secure. So what we need to do is add an additional piece of software onto the Raspberry Pi to handle that connection. That's why that Facebook connection was connecting locally to the Raspberry Pi at a certain port, because we need a different app in order to get it to connect to Facebook securely and make it, okay with their standard. So in order to do that, we're going to use a product called stunnel. So first thing we need to do is we need to install stunnel. So just like we installed nginx, we just have to do a command. So that command is sudo apt space install space stunnel 4, the number 4. Let's go ahead and push enter to get that installed. Like I said, this is something you have to do if you plan on doing live streaming to Facebook. This is something you need to add in to the Raspberry Pi in order to make that work. There we go, got that installed. So now we need to edit the stunnel configuration file to get it set up for Facebook. So in order to do that, you're going to do sudo space nano space backslash etc backslash stunnel backslash stunnel.conf. Let's go ahead and push enter. There you go. And now we need to add in some Facebook code here. So I'm going to go ahead and go over this. So basically it's got to tell it that's Facebook Live, that it's a client, and that you're accepting connections on the local host, which is the 127.0.0.1. That's your local host of the Raspberry Pi. And you do port number 19350, and you're going to make sure that the connect is set to live-api-s.facebook.com, and then the port 443 and verify chain off. So I just want to go ahead and add this into the conf and go ahead and save this. Now I'm going to do Control X. I'm going to do yes to save it. There, now it's all saved. Now we need to go ahead and restart stunnel. So that way it has the new changes to the configuration file. So in order to do that, you're going to do sudo backslash etc backslash init.d backslash stunnel, the number 4 right after the L, and then restart. Go ahead and push enter. There we go. That's already been restarted. Now we can go through and check to make sure that our YouTube and Facebook is streaming. So let's go ahead and add in a YouTube key and a Facebook key, and let's go ahead and show you the service running. So I'm going to go ahead and get my YouTube set up in order to do that. So I went into my YouTube studio. I'm going to tell it right now. Don't worry, it's not actually going to start broadcasting you right now. So go ahead and click on start. And you want to say you're going to use streaming software. So go ahead and click on streaming software. And there we go. So all I need to do is go in here, and right here will be your stream key. All I got to do is go ahead and just copy that. And we're going to go ahead and put that into your configuration file for nginx. So go ahead and paste that in there. And then also, you also want to make sure that your stream URL is exactly what you have set up in your configuration file as well. Like, see, this is a.rtmp.youtube.com/live2. So you want to make sure that the link in your configuration file is also set to that. So you want to copy stream key and put that in there, and then check your stream URL and make sure that that's set up as well. Let's go ahead and edit our nginx configuration file. Let's see, there it is. Push enter. And I'm going to want to go down to the bottom where we have our configuration files here. And right there, after it says YouTube, and right here where it says YouTube stream key, that's where we're going to go ahead and paste in our stream key. So I'll go ahead and delete that. That's there. Go ahead and put in my stream key. And then I also want to go back to the browser here, and let's double check that my stream URL is the same. So that's at a.rtmp.youtube.com/live2. So back to the Raspberry Pi. See, that's at a.rtmp.youtube.com/live2, and then your stream key. So I have that all set. Now I'm also going to add it down here to the all live section as well, so that way my key is already in here and ready to go for when I stream to both YouTube and Facebook. Let's go ahead and delete what's there. Go ahead and put in my key. Okay, now we went ahead and got our YouTube keys, so that's all set. So now we need to go ahead and get our Facebook. So let's go ahead and get our Facebook keys and then add this in here to the file as well. So on Facebook, it's kind of a similar thing. You make sure to tell it you're going to be doing it being streaming software or use a stream key. And then basically you're going to copy your stream key. So go ahead and click copy there. It's been copied. We're going to go back to our Raspberry Pi. We'll go ahead and paste that in where it says Facebook Live, or Facebook stream key. I apologize. There we go. Delete that real quick. Put in your Facebook one. Okay. We'll go down here. And I'm going to add in my Facebook stream key one more time. Okay, once you have both your stream keys from YouTube and Facebook into the configuration file, I'm going to go ahead and do Control X and Y for saving it, and then Enter. And then we also want to then make sure that it is all set up correctly in the configuration file. So if you remember early on when we first did this the first time, we did it sudo nginx-t. And that is to go through and check to make sure that everything's set up correctly. So let's go ahead and do that. And that will let us know that the configuration file is okay and that everything is all good. So now since it's said that everything's all good, let's go ahead and restart the nginx server with our new configurations. Perfect. All right. So it's been restarted. Everything should be good. So now we go ahead and let's check out our live streaming. So I guess first up, let's go ahead and try, let's see, which one we want to do first. Let's go ahead and let's do Facebook. So in order to do that, you need to go back into OBS. You're going to go to Settings. You go to Stream. And this time, you're going to get rid of the word live there. They're going to replace it with a new application name called Facebook that we set up earlier in the configuration file. So we're just going to call this one Facebook. Go ahead and click Apply. Click OK. I'm going to go ahead and click Start Streaming, and we're going to move my window. And we'll go back here to Facebook. You can see down here in the bottom right corner, there's our live stream. It's working. You can see it. It's live. So that's directly going to Facebook right now. So that's all set, ready to go. So okay, now since that's great, we saw that working. Now let's go ahead and show you that YouTube is all set. So in order to do that, we'll go to this little browser here. We'll go back here to Settings again on our OBS. We'll go to Settings, stream, and then this time, instead of being Facebook, we're going to do YouTube. Because I just want to stream just to YouTube right now. So go ahead and change that to YouTube. Click apply, and OK. And when you're ready to test it, go ahead and click start streaming. So that's going to go ahead and start streaming for us. Let's go ahead and get that open. Here's our live stream. And there we go. Now we have it completely all set up, ready to go. It's live. As you can see, the quality looks good. It's connecting. Stream health is good. So we're not dropping anything. And this is streaming to YouTube from OBS to the Raspberry Pi. And then Raspberry Pi is going to YouTube. So it works out really well. It's pretty awesome. So now since we've seen it work on YouTube and on Facebook, let's stream to both at the same time. So in order to do that, we go back into OBS. And we'll go to our settings. And we'll click stream. And then this time, if you remember, we have a new thing called all live, which is going to do YouTube and Facebook at the same time. So we're going to change that to all live. Click apply. Click OK. I'm going to click start streaming. And we'll move OBS back out of the way again, out of our view. There we go. Give that a second to catch up. So let's go ahead and move this over a little bit. You can see there's our live stream right there for that. If we use the Facebook Live producer, and we shrink that down. As you can see, there's Facebook that we're live streaming to right now. And then also, there's YouTube. So as you can see, right now I am streaming to both Facebook and YouTube with no issues. There's no hiccups. Everything is smooth. Everything is working. It just works. So let's just say you go ahead and set this up, and that's great and it's working, but you really want to know how much bandwidth this is using. Do I have enough internet connection to do this? Well, luckily enough for us, RTMP comes with a stat add-on that we can go ahead and add into RTMP that will then show us exactly how much bandwidth each one of these streams are doing. So let's go ahead and let's get statistics set up on it so we can actually see how much this stuff is actually using. Let's go ahead and check that out. Alright, so setting up stats on this is super easy. It's basically a one command, copy and paste, and then dragging a file to a certain directory onto the Raspberry Pi. So let's go ahead and get started. So first thing we need to do is we need to edit the default sites enabled file that comes with nginx. So we're going to do that, and I'm going to type in sudo space nano / etc. / nginx / sites - enabled / default, and go ahead and push enter. And we're going to want to go down to is you want to go right underneath where it says location. So what you want to do is, see this little white bracket right there? You don't want to delete that. You want to make sure all your code goes before that. So what you want to do is go at the very end right there of that line, push enter, and then copy and paste the code provided to you to turn on stats. Go ahead and paste that in. So this is going to go ahead and turn on stats for us. So what we need to do is go ahead and save this file now. So let's go ahead and do our Control X and our yes. So that's going to go ahead and be saved. Now you need to go ahead and take the stats.xsl file and place it into the HTML folder on your Raspberry Pi. So let's go ahead and do that. So in order to get that stop.xsl file into the HTML folder of the Nginx server, you can use some sort of program to copy the file into that folder, or I'm just going to do it the quick and easy way, and that's just going to go ahead and create the file in that directory. So first thing we need to do is we need to go ahead and get into the public HTML directory. So in order to do that, we're going to do cd for change directory, /var, /www, /html. Go ahead and push enter. All right, now we're go ahead and we're in that directory. Now we want to create this file. So in order to create the stat.xsl file, we're going to type in sudo space nano space stat.xsl, and this will allow us to create the XSL file that we need for statistics in order to have it work. So go ahead and push enter there. And what you want to do is you're going to open up the stat.xsl file either in Notepad or some sort of file editor program, or some sort of code editor program, so that way you can actually just copy and paste it. So this is the XSL file. So what I want to do is I want to copy all this. So I'm going to do Control A, go to Control C, copy it, go back to our program. I'm just going to go ahead and paste it all in there. There we go. So it's all been added into the file now. So now we're going to do Control X. And then yes, we want to save it. Go ahead and push enter. Now if you remember, we did actually change a different type of configuration file, and it's highly recommended you restart nginx in order to see the live stats. So let's just go ahead and restart it just in case here. Make sure our stats work. There we go. Okay, so currently I am not streaming at all. So let's go ahead and take a look at that stats page real quick. So let's go ahead and bring that up. So as you can see, I'm currently doing a 5 megabit stream up right now. And that 5 megabit stream is going to YouTube and Facebook at exactly the same time. So this is a cool way to be able to go on here and check to see how much bandwidth is that taking when I'm doing the live stream. This will actually show you. So you just have to click refresh after you get it started, and it will show you statistically what kind of data usage you're doing while you're live streaming. So this is a great way to, one, double check that it actually is working, and two, like I said, to be able to show you how much bandwidth you're actually using. So it's a pretty sweet little setup. And well, there you have it. That's how you set up the Raspberry Pi to stream to Facebook and YouTube at the same time using nginx with RTMP. Please let me know if there's any questions about how to set it up, or if you get stuck at all during any of this process of setting it up. Leave your comments below, and I'll be glad to help you out the best I can. And just remember, if I can do it, so can you. Thanks, guys.